Welcome back to the United Pubcast. Manchester United in the Europa League against Real Betis. I can't tell you the last time we played against Real Betis. I'm not sure. Maybe one of the historians will know that. The last time we did play the Spanish outfit. Well, to be fair, we did play them a few months ago, just after the World Cup. But I mean, obviously, in a competitive fixture, and I think they beat us in that match. I think we lost both games away in Spain during that World Cup period. Obviously, a heavily rotated side, but this time it is for all the chocolates and a proper match and proper sort of knockout football on Europe stage. But before we get into that and all things match preview, got Adam off the bench, replacing Larry, which is good to see. A couple of days after Anfield, it's still, as I say, a couple of days out, but it's still obviously fresh in the mind. Just talk to me about your last couple of days and how you're dealing with everything.
Oh, horrible. I've normally always flicking through Twitter every 10 minutes, but now it's every couple of hours after this. It's every fan, Chelsea fans, Tottenham fans, everyone's likes to talk now when we lose. But I don't know, I find it strange when you have teams who have spent £620 million in one season who are about 15 points below us still talking. It gets a bit frustrating, but yeah, we have to move on from that result.
But that comes with the territory as being a Man United fan. Yeah, look, I've seen Chelsea. Somehow they went through against Dortmund. I didn't watch the match. From all reports, I think from hearing one or two comments, they probably deserved to go through. But yeah, the mess they were in the Premier League, you obviously didn't expect them to go through in the Champions League, but ultimately they are there. So fair play to them. Fingers crossed they don't sort of work that miracle of what they've done previously in terms of winning Champions Leagues. They've been horrible in the league and go and win the Champions League. Fingers crossed that's not the case. But hopefully the only English team winning a European trophy this year is obviously Man United in the Europa League. Don't care Europa League or Champions League. It's a European trophy at the end of the day for me. So, and ultimately, off the back of this Liverpool defeat, when we're sort of going to look forward to the Betis match now, Adam, in regards to fixing it, this 7-0 result will stay with Man United fans forever. The 8-2 will stick with Arsenal fans. Even if they win the league this year, they'll be over the moon. The 8-2 will still sting. If we go and win the treble in 2-3 years' time, this 7-0 will still sting. It's going to stay there, obviously. So you can't hide from that. You do have to move on. But ultimately, we do need a reaction from the players. And obviously, we need an immediate reaction this week in regards to a must-win game against Southampton and obviously the first leg of this Europa League match. But also in terms of a bigger picture, a bigger apology, what I think they can do to make up for it or sort of make up for it is win another trophy this season. Now, we have a very good chance of winning 2 trophies. That can happen, very likely not, but there's a real chance of that happening. I'm just thinking with this Europa League, I know a lot of people think, well, it's not the Champions League, it's not really that major trophy, but ultimately it is European football for me. What do you think in regards to, can the players sort of fix this issue against Anfield or make up for it, or whatever they do this season? If they go and do a cup treble, it'll almost still be sort of in the unforgivable category.
No, I think it definitely softens the blow, especially when you think about it in history, how we think of the result against Arsenal. If we go out and we also win an FA Cup and a Europa League, and if we finish higher than Liverpool, because at the end of the day, if they're going to say, oh, they beat us 7-0, we can say that season we finished above you and won 2 or 3 other trophies and you won nothing. So really it means nothing. But yeah, you have to have 2 big results this week. I feel like we need to win both games against Betis and Southampton on Monday morning. Otherwise, this seems like a bit of maybe a weak mentality if we don't, I think, win both of them. Maybe not weak mentality, but just not that bounce back that we're expecting and I think we need.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you are in the live chat, do let us know your thoughts ahead of the match, what you're thinking, who needs to be dropped, because there does need to be sort of action taken with that starting 11. So leave a like on the video and let us know all your talking points. But on that, Adam, obviously must win. Obviously, you need it's a results-based business, of course. In regards to that reaction you're talking about, what is the reaction? Is it winning? Winning at all costs, get back on track in terms of, as I said, it's a results-based business, or is the reaction for you a proper performance where we see good football, attacking football, and you'd say more importantly, the effort and attitude? Like if you had to weigh up one, which one's more important this week?
I think it's definitely effort and attitude, because after a 7-0 defeat to your biggest rivals, I think it can do a lot to your confidence. But if they come back with a big reaction, good effort and confidence, and they show, and also good performance, you have to have good performances as well. These next 2, not even just the next 2 games, the next month at least. But yeah, it has to be done. Otherwise, it's going to look really bad on us.
Do you have faith in a positive reaction?
Yeah, definitely. I just think it was a really bad day. Not one, every single, all 11 players who played were absolutely horrendous against Liverpool. And then this,
I look back at it and I saw little snippets of highlights. There is a real scenario. We go in 3-0 up at halftime. Bruno Fernandez's header just grazed the post almost. Casemiro scores an offside goal. Rashford really should put Man United 1-0 up in the form he's in. Suddenly you're 3-0 up.
yeah,
Different discussion.
that's the thing. We went into halftime 1-0 down, and you're thinking at halftime, we can see it right before halftime, and we should be up. Bruno said, like you're saying, close. Even Rashford, the way he's scoring goals at the moment, you think a chance like that, he absolutely buries that in the back of the net, but he hasn't. So I think it was just one of those days. I don't think it was a lack of quality. I think yes, on the day we didn't perform well, and it was lack of quality. But just one of those bad days. Even when McTominay came on, he made a tackle.
Yes.
It's bounced to one of the Liverpool players. I think he's passed and it's bounced back off McTominay to fallen straight to Salah in the box, and he's finished it. Like that's just poor defending
off the
at the same
underside
time.
of the bar as well. And that hit the underside of the bar and rocketed
and it's a bit of luck, but at the end of the day, yes, they were a lot better than us. But yeah, I think we play that game again tomorrow. Definitely wouldn't be anywhere near like that. And like I was saying in the stream last night, I think every week we've played a midweek fixture since Christmas. Liverpool have only played 3, so I think definitely fatigue and tiredness.
Who was talking? I think it was. I'm not sure where I heard this. It might have been Andy Mitten talking on Talk of the Devils. I'm not sure, but the stat is out there that post World Cup, United have played. Now, correct me. I forget what these stats are. I'm just gonna. It was a rough idea that United's post World Cup have played 22 matches, and Chelsea and Arsenal have played, or Chelsea and Arsenal, or Chelsea and Liverpool, I forget, but 2 teams, Chelsea and someone, have played a combined 25 between the 2 clubs. I think Arsenal have played 12 games in that time. Man United have played 22. So Man United have almost played double the games, pretty much double the games post World Cup, which is crazy. And ultimately, George here makes the point, fatigue as well. And fatigue is definitely a thing. I think when we use that, especially when you're talking online with fans, they say, oh, it's an excuse. Yes, it's an excuse, of course, but it's also a reason, as I said yesterday. Like there are physical sort of limitations on these players. Box, good to see you, mate. Another trophy would put a nice end into the season ahead of hopefully a takeover. The takeover that's sort of gone on the back burner after the Liverpool defeat. We're all talking about Qatar and Ratcliffe. Suddenly 7 goals go in, and it's a further thing from discussion. Second season in charge, we're all competitive in all competitions. Yeah, look, no doubt we're on the right track under Erik ten Hag. Also makes the point here, these games will be tricky against Betis, Southampton. Obviously the return leg against Betis as well, Fulham. We've got Fulham, obviously, in the FA Cup. We've got them on the last day in the Premier League, I believe. But the real acid test to see how far mentally we've come and how Erik ten Hag has learned will be the away games to Brighton, Newcastle, and Tottenham. I just saw the fixture list there. Yeah, Newcastle away is coming around soon. That'll be interesting off the back of, we obviously had the draw earlier this season, but then the cup final. So it'll be interesting. And my mum here, good to see you, Mum. Hope all is well. United need to run on the field with their heads high and put the Liverpool game behind them. That is 100% what they have to do. Easier said than done. When you do get beaten 7-0, I remember once I did lose 7-0, Adam. I remember it was 7-1. I think actually the biggest defeat, I think it was 7-1. I think we actually scored, we went 1-0 up, but ultimately it went south after that. And when you do get beaten like that, Adam, it's just, thankfully it never happened too much to me, but once or twice it did. And it does take a hit because next time you rock up and the other team knows the result, obviously Real Betis and Southampton know you just got smacked. So when you're walking and you're on the warm-up, you're on the pitch doing your warm-ups and everything, the other team's looking at you and you know they're thinking this team just got smashed last week. And ultimately that does sort of really dent your confidence when fellow professionals look and go, God, we're not as bad as this lot.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's all about, football is a lot about mentality as well. I think it's a mentality and confidence. But yeah, I expect us to bounce back. I think I think Ten Hag will definitely play a rotated squad. I think he has seen the pace fatigued, and I think Shaw has picked up a niggle. So has Varane possibly, or Casemiro. So yeah, I think
we'll get in the starting 11s. Yeah, we'll get in the starting 11s pretty much now because I don't know. These are simply. These 2 starting 11s here, I'm going to give mine, then Adam's going to give his. They're both going to be wrong. There is no right solution to these starting 11s. Again, I'm not sure of the fitness issue. I don't think we have any suspended players. I believe Casemiro is on a yellow card, so if he's to pick up one, he would miss the next Europa League fixture. I believe that's correct. Injuries, Varane Martinez, Luke Shaw, I'm not sure. But ultimately, I have no idea what Erik ten Hag will do now. Will he make big changes, or will he put them out then to sort of fix it again? I'm not sure. So I'm going to bring my 11 up here, and I sort of caveat this from the start, saying this is wrong. This won't happen. This is a little bit in between a preferred / predicted. I would lean more towards this is a predicted 11, and I'll give you my thoughts as to why. But I think obviously David De Gea will keep his spot. He needs to drop players. Now, if you're going to pick this player, okay, if you're going to drop that player, the player on the other side of the field needs to be dropped as well, because he was just as bad against Anfield. But ultimately, we can't drop 11 players. You do need to cut some type of form and consistency and have your best players out there. So there's players, in my opinion, I would be dropping Bruno Fernandes. I just think given the situation, it's probably not the right time to drop him. You probably need him in there somewhere. So ultimately, I believe Bruno deserved to be dropped. And I love Bruno Fernandes, but I find he has to find himself in this team. Unfortunately, for anyone who sides on the fence of dropping him. So it is, some plays will be hard done by here, but I think action does need to be taken by Erik ten Hag. So I think Wan-Bissaka comes in for Diogo. I think that is very straightforward. Malacia comes in for Shaw. I thought Shaw's worst game in a while, so I think Shaw needs to be dropped, and I've lose no sleep over Tyrell Malacia coming in. I'm not promoting Harry Maguire to the starting 11 or anything, and I'm not sort of too critical of Lisandro Martinez. I could have easily dropped Varane. I thought probably maybe if Varane was even worse than Martinez, yeah, that was a flip of a coin. Ultimately, I would, at the moment, maybe even lean towards Victor Lindelof coming in instead of Harry Maguire. But in regards to a prediction, I think if one is to replace one of those central defenders, it would be Harry Maguire. And Varane and Martinez, take your pick. I think Rafael Varane will keep his spot over Martinez. I'd say a situation where Varane and Martinez both play and Harry Maguire doesn't. But in regards to a prediction, that is what I was thinking there. The big shock for me, well, it's my prediction, but what I'm expecting, potentially a scenario, Luke Shaw's worst game, it was Casemiro's worst game. And I think ultimately Casemiro is not bigger than anyone at the club. If Erik ten Hag wants to sort of keep this consistency in regards to treating all these players equal and no one's bigger than the club, Casemiro's worst performance, have a seat on the bench. Now, does he deserve that? Probably not. Okay, Casemiro's been absolutely brilliant. One bad game, should you be punished for that? Probably not. But I think actually it was 7-0. We didn't lose 2-1 at Anfield. We didn't lose 3-0 at Anfield. It was 7-0. So ultimately, in regards to Luke Shaw and Casemiro, I would be taking action. Now, ultimately, I'd look further ahead and say Bruno should be the same thing. If I'm dropping Casemiro, I should be dropping Bruno. But ultimately, who you got to play in that Bruno position? I think he's just maybe a little bit lucky to find himself in here. And up front, I think Garnacho comes in. I think Sancho comes in for Anthony. And obviously, after my point yesterday in regards to Weghorst touching the Anfield sign, he's not on my Christmas list at the moment, so I'm playing Rashford through the middle. But before you get into your 11, Adam, have a guess on out of 11 how many I'll get right in that prediction.
Oh, it's so hard to say. I don't know. I think I'll say 8. I think
I'll take 8. I'll take
9.
8.
I'll say 9. I just think. Yeah, 9. I don't think Varane.
I think Sabitzer is nailed on to start. I think maybe a little bit hard done by not to start at Anfield. So I'll be interested. But I think he walks into the team at whose expense, I'm not sure. As I said, money would suggest Casemiro will play, but I think there is a real situation in which I respect enough already. But Erik ten Hag I'd respect even more if he drops Casemiro. Not to sort of punish Casemiro, but just to say, look, you're bad. Have a night off and sort of remind yourself who you do play for and the standards you set yourself. But Casemiro obviously on a yellow card as well. We potentially need him for that away leg in Spain, which he has vast experience as well. So I'll get your 11 up in a little bit. I'll just come to some comments in the live chat. Rob, good to see you, mate. Hope all is well. Box as well. I think the loss of Eriksen. Yeah, you keep forgetting not just Eriksen and Martial, but obviously Donny van de Beek as well. Not that Donny van de Beek was pulling up any trees, but obviously another body who could be playing parts as well. Have been so important post this World Cup period. Means no reliance, no rotation for Fernandes and Rashford. There was a story. I think it will gather a bit of momentum from the one or two snippets I did read. It does look like potentially is something in this. He's not Argentinian, in my opinion. I don't care that he was at the World Cup and won a medal with Argentina at the World Cup. But the guy from Brighton, McAllister, he's not Argentinian for me. He's Scottish. But he's obviously convinced everyone is Argentinian. He's sort of got his way into that squad. There is a bit of a rumour linking him with Man United. At the moment, yes, a rumour. What can you make of it? But it just, my gut says there's something in that. And that'll be interesting. I'm not sure what his contract situation is at Brighton. They obviously signed Caicedo to a new deal, so would they be looking to maybe offload one of their other assets? I think there is something in there, and obviously that area of the pitch with Bruno Fernandes, we definitely need to reinforce. So keep an eye out for that McAllister one, in my opinion, and do let me know your thoughts on that Ed here got beaten 10-1 in a high school match once. Don't think I spoke to anyone for the rest of the day. I almost spoke to anyone for the rest of the week. To be honest, we were taking the week off work. And I want to say, Dion here, good to see you. I want to see a response be fit in of a club our size, yeah. And that why I almost put the result to a little bit. We need to win, of course, and winning obviously fixes everything. That, okay, this is the second leg. We could draw this or lose this, and we can fix it in the second leg. Ultimately, what we do need and what we want is that sort of real visible sort of response in regards to good football, good attitude, and a good effort. And Ed here, remind us, we do have a shocking record in Spain. Our record in Spain is awful. We need to get a comfortable win at Old Trafford. Betis, look, just check the La Liga ladder. They look like they're sitting fifth, which is very good for a club like Betis in La Liga. They are doing very well. I think from all the reports, one or two of their key players potentially out injured, which does obviously favour Man United. But yeah, you'd hopefully we do get it's very easy to sit here and say, okay, let's go win 3-0 at Old Trafford and we'll be fine. It's European football. It could be a tough game. We might not score 3 goals, but hopefully in an ideal world we can sort of wrap this tie up in the first leg. But I just want one lineup here from Box before we get to your lineup, Adam. He's gone Heaton. That's not happened, Box. Not happening. Well, at the end of the day, De Gea did concede 7. Was he at fault for many? Probably not. Maybe 1 or 2 you could argue do better. That'll be interesting. I don't see a situation where Heaton, but if you're treating all the players equally, if I'm dropping other players, David De Gea is also a player, so who knows? Wan-Bissaka, obviously Martinez and Maguire. So yeah, I've gone Varane, Maguire. He's gone Martinez, Malacia, Sabitzer, McTominay, Lindelof. That is a shout, Lindelof in midfield. Look, who knows? There could be drastic changes. As I said, it's not just a defeat at the Anfield. It's not just we haven't gone there and played badly and lost. We lost 7-0. It was historic. So there might be historic changes. And obviously the front three, which I believe will be the case as well, Garnacho, Sancho and Rashford. So, Adam, I'll bring your starting 11 up here. And you've also included McTominay, which, look, anyone to include Scott McTominay would be me. I haven't done it. Box done it as there. And I wouldn't lose any sleep. Obviously, I'd like to see that happen. I can't see it happening. But just talk me through there. You've obviously gone Martinez over Varane. So are you so-called dropping Varane and sort of the point over Maguire sort of coming in, not Lindelof?
Yeah, I just think... I don't know. I can see with Ten Hag playing either. I feel like he's definitely going to play either one of Lindelof or Maguire on Friday morning. But yeah, like you were saying before, just a pick really, Martinez or Varane, who's not going to play it. That were both as bad as each other, I think. But yeah, I think Martinez will play just because we know Varane's past injury record, even though it's been pretty good this season. And then I think Malacia, like you were saying, Shaw's worst performance all season by far. He needs to play. I don't think he's played in a while as well, actually. Then Wan-Bissaka has to come in. I think Dye was dreadful on Monday morning. I can also see, instead of Casemiro in my starting 11, Sabitzer starting with McTominay just sitting behind him and Bruno. But yeah, because like you're saying yourself, Casemiro, worst game by far. I don't think he won a single tackle in our defensive third for like 60 minutes or something. It was shocking. And then I think the front line with Garnacho needs to play. Same with Sancho. He's not really getting many minutes lately. And then with Weghorst, I think he does need a rest. How hard he works. Yeah. I know he wasn't very good on the weekend, and after what he did touching that badge.
Look, and Weghorst, you're right in regards to a lot of the discussion around him at the moment, his quality, and okay, the Liverpool incident, unfortunately. In the case of a lot of players like Bruno Fernandes, he gets through a lot of work. He is one player who has run himself into the ground. He deserves a rest. Whether this is a rest or a drop, I'm not sure. But it is interesting. The comment here, George saying here, any news on Martial? Look, I'd love to see him fit and back. I don't think he will be. Would you be shocked if he's injured? Obviously not. I still think Casemiro will play. Look, my money would suggest Casemiro will play. I do think that will happen, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I just have a feeling if Erik ten Hag wants to really stamp his foot down, that would be a big statement, and I wouldn't sort of oppose the idea as well. Dion here with a question, which I'll throw to you as well, Adam. Bruno Fernandes, what is Bruno's actual position, though? I've no idea. In my opinion, look, I like where he actually plays for Portugal. He plays in that sort of 10, but a little bit deeper, almost in a midfield 3, a little bit to the right maybe, but just sort of in a midfield 3 with that license to go forward. But ultimately, there is such a huge discussion, Adam, around Bruno Fernandes' position in regards to a lot of people, in regards to the sort of critical nature of him in saying, well, he's playing out wide because Erik ten Hag doesn't trust him in the middle. I just think, okay, you could make that argument. And look, I wouldn't sort of, I disagree, but I can see valid points to that argument. But I also think there was a stat that came out. I think he started 22 games in the centre this season under Erik ten Hag.
33.
33s, and I think 7 out wide, which is crazy amount of games anyway. But that would obviously sort of debunk that myth. But ultimately, there is a thing about Bruno Fernandes, and he almost goes into the Paul Pogba category. What's his best position sort of thing? In my opinion, as I said, he's that central midfielder with that license to go forward. He's almost not the luxury player because he obviously gets through a hell of a lot more work than any other player. So you don't really call that a luxury player. But he is that player. I don't see him out wide. Now, yes, he can be creative. He can be impactful. But ultimately, in regards to the way he plays football, you want him in and around the ball. You don't want him sort of isolated, sort of relying on physical traits at times. So where do you see Bruno Fernandes? And ultimately, the second part of that question, Erik ten Hag's use of him, is it to cater Bruno or is it to fill holes that other people aren't able to fill?
Yeah, I think when people say Ten Hag doesn't trust Bruno down the middle or in the midfield is absolute rubbish. Like we were saying, 33 games he started him in the midfield and 7 out and 7. He's played 7 games out wide. If you didn't trust him, Ten Hag is no muck around manager. He puts his foot down. If he didn't trust him playing the midfield, he wouldn't play him. I think it's simple as that. It's his best position is definitely it's in the midfield because he works hard. I think out wide, he gets a bit lost in his game. He doesn't work as hard. He's got a good crossing game from when he's out wide. But again, how many headers do we really score? Not many. So I don't really think it's that useful out wide. But yeah, he works so hard in that midfield. And then all of his best performances in the United shirt is in the midfield. So I don't understand I don't know how people are saying his best position or Ten Hag doesn't trust him down the middle. I think if you didn't trust him down the middle, he wouldn't play him down the middle at all.
Yeah, well, on that point, and a lot of people have not criticised, but sort of alluded to potentially criticising Ten Hag in the future, saying he's not strong enough to drop Maguire or not strong enough to drop Bruno Fernandes. I think, well, I disagree with that. And what I would point to, he sacked Cristiano Ronaldo. He has dropped Harry Maguire. I just think he's made bigger decisions than putting Bruno Fernandes in a different position. He's made far bigger decisions than that. So if he wants to drop Bruno Fernandes or if he doesn't trust him, Bruno will be on the bench because he's got rid of the world's best player, or not at the time, but obviously got rid of Cristiano Ronaldo. He's dropped Manchester United's captain. So if Bruno Fernandes isn't trusted, he won't be playing. He is playing every single game, and that is because he is trusted. So Bruno Fernandes needs to respond more than anyone, I think, because he is Manchester United's captain. Whatever we think of that going forward, that's a different discussion. But ultimately, he is Ten Hag's captain. He's Man United's captain at the moment. He needs a performance because he was very poor against Liverpool, both performance-wise and attitude-wise. So he needs to fix up as well, 100%. George here with a comment. I was thinking about this earlier today. Won't matter. I still think there is a situation where I think Erik ten Hag, when he came, he would have sat down and said, look, go do what you want. If you want to leave, obviously go. But there is a spot here. I think in regards to the makeup of our squad in that number 10 role, I think it would have suited this squad. Now, yes, ultimately he has personal ambitions to go and play a little bit more football, of course. But I always think in terms of, you look how we played a little bit more up-tempo this season in regards to the way we're playing football. We've played the reason it's so sort of up-tempo and fast-looking is because it's been so slow in recent seasons. I just think every time Juan Mata was played in the middle, that was always, the last 5 years, that was always our quickest football. Okay, he's quite slow in regards to his physical movement, but the ball moved 10 times faster when he was in the middle. So I do think there would have been a situation where he would have been a valuable squad member. And given Bruno, as I said, he wouldn't have to start 33 games. Those 7 games, he wouldn't have to go out wide. Juan Mata could drop in the middle and you could have another player. So ultimately, I would have liked to have seen a situation where Juan Mata stayed. But ultimately, Christian Eriksen came in and sort of took his role, obviously a different area of the pitch, but sort of took that role in regards to an extra sort of person in the centre area. But unfortunately, Christian Eriksen picked up that injury thanks to that. That's a shocking tackle by Andy Carroll. But hopefully Juan Mata's doing well in Turkey. I haven't been following the Turkish league too closely, but I've seen him pop up with a goal or two on my Twitter profile. But anything else in regards to this match? Are you confident? Obviously, we're confident, which is weird in regards to we've just lost 7-0 at our biggest rivals. And here we are saying, yeah, I back these players to come back and give us a good performance, which is crazy because that shouldn't be the case when you lose 7-0 to Liverpool. But here we are defying that. Just your thoughts ahead of the match in regards to result. One, the isolated 90 minutes, but also taking into consideration the 2 legs.
I think I say 3-1 is my prediction for Friday morning. But yeah, it's weird that we're actually confident about this game. If any other season, we were within the last 10 years since Alex Ferguson's retired, I think if we lost 7-0 to Liverpool, we'd be saying no matter who we're playing, we're not winning this next game. But I think it's Ten Hag's given us that bit of confidence. But yeah, I'm confident we'll get the job done.
It's common here from Box in regards to Weghorst going back to starting 11. I think you can accommodate a Weghorst in tournament football like France did with Giroud in the 2018 World Cup at 1 goal in 16 games is very poor for a centre forward. Yeah, unfortunately, in terms of everything he's contributing, you can make a case that Weghorst is doing very well. You look at the goal record, it's just not there, unfortunately. And ultimately, you do need a few more goals. I'm not sure what our goal difference is like, but the 7-0 obviously didn't help. But just in regards to that tournament football, the comment there, obviously Erik ten Hag's 90 minutes, whether it be a league football or tournament football, it's 90 minutes is 90 minutes of football. But ultimately, are we sort of, in our starting 11s we've put together there, sort of forgetting what Erik ten Hag has shown in previous sort of games where we think, okay, here's the time you can rotate Betis and maybe the more important game is against Southampton. Okay, maybe have 1 or 2 rotations. Ultimately, every time I've thought that's the time to do it, Erik ten Hag has gone full strength. Now, it's not every time in terms of we're up for a bit of rotation. We lose 7-0 in the previous match. So obviously that throws an interesting spanner into it. But taking into sort of consideration that 7-0 defeat, is there a situation where we as fans are maybe overlooking Betis a little bit, where Erik ten Hag will be saying, I'm not overlooking Betis, this is European football at its finest, and this is Spanish opposition where we're going to have to be at our absolute best. So regardless of last week's performance, all my big names are going to play.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. I think just because of that, the result on the weekend is the reason why I have so many changes compared to what was playing on Sunday. But if it wasn't for that result, I expect a pretty strong side like he normally does. But I think he knows some of these players need a rest. I think rotation is a must now. It's 40. I think we've played 41 games now this season, or 42 games possibly. That's
is
crazy.
The rest potentially, again, they won at Stamford Bridge the other week, but ultimately we do have Southampton at home now. Southampton are last in the Premier League. If ever there is a Premier League game where you can afford a little bit of rotation, it's at Old Trafford against the team coming bottom. Now, I have a horrible feeling against whoever we play bottom. It seems whenever we play the team in 20th, home or away, we seem to lose. Even under Sir Alex Ferguson. Whoever is bottom of the table, if Manchester United are playing that team, it seems we always lose. So fingers crossed that's not the case. But here we are with a little bit of rotation ahead of this Europa League match. Is there a situation now where the title race is gone? The priority will now be the cup football in regards to getting through against Betis and Fulham, and Southampton will actually be where potentially a little bit of rotation is.
I think it's more when we look like we're more of a certainty of making top 4. Because like we were saying before the podcast started, Liverpool now, I think they're 7 behind us now. But when you think about it, it is a couple of games, but it's still not that many. Spurs, I think, are only 5 behind us, but they've played, I think, a game extra. Newcastle aren't too far behind as well. So it's definitely not a certainty we're going to make top 4. So I think that's going to be a priority as well. Definitely making Champions League football for next season. But again, I can see Ten Hag pushing all the way for this Europa League to obviously win another trophy and qualify for the Champions League through that as well.
Well, it comes in the next comment Dion just brought up here, but I'll bring up Ed first, saying Betis, the best of the rest in La Liga, can completely underestimate them. Yeah, look, they are doing very well. A lot of reports say they do play quite good football as well. Obviously, Andy Bitton has done a lot of pieces on Real Betis, and obviously a big club over in Spain. So it's good to see them doing well, but hopefully not well against Manchester United. But Dion, here with a question which will start to wrap up in and around this topic: is the Europa really important? I can fully understand anyone saying potentially no, it's not as important. For me, 100% it is. I think obviously because I can see a situation, unfortunately, where things go south in the Premier League and we lose 1 or 2 on the bounce, and Newcastle, Liverpool, Tottenham potentially close that gap, and we're starting to look at was top 4 qualification for the Champions League there. Well, there's your back door into the Champions League, like we did under Jose Mourinho in his first season, like Erik ten Hag's first season. Not able to make the top 4, which I think we will, but obviously not finishing in the top 4 and go and get that Champions League qualification through the Europa League. And when Paul Pogba and Mkhitaryan scored those goals in Stockholm, yeah, the Europa League was important to me. Okay, yes, it wasn't the Champions League when those goals flew in and we're lifting that trophy, our last trophy before the Carabao Cup. You're damn right, it meant a lot to me. But I fully understand, okay, it's not the Champions League, it's not the elite competition, so I understand that. But given our position, and as I said, the apology these players need to give me, maybe everyone's a little bit different, is not a response now, okay, which I do need the response now against Betis and Southampton, but ultimately apologising for the 7-0 for me is go win another trophy. Go win 2 trophies this season. Now, ultimately, there is a situation which I don't think will happen, but you could do a cup treble. And what's more likely, Europa League or FA Cup? Because obviously Manchester City are still in the FA Cup, Then if you do look at the Europa Leagues, obviously you've got big clubs like Arsenal, Juventus, etc.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
But we'd knock out Barcelona, so
that's what I'm saying. But then will Arsenal play a weakened squad because looks like they're obviously front runners for the Premier League now.
I think we'll get that answer. That they play Sporting Lisbon the same day, so I think we'll get a very clear answer of what Arsenal's priority is.
And then it's the same with City. Are they going to prioritise the league over the FA Cup? I know they don't really have to because of how good their squad actually is. They could play their whole basically backup squad really, and they probably still compete with the top four in the Premier League. But it's just I don't know. It's really hard to say whether one prioritises the league over one of the cup tournaments. But I think FA Cup is more. I think it's more likely for us to win than the Europa League this season.
Well, Ed here agreeing with you as well. I think the FA Cup is more likely in a one-off Wembley game. I think we can beat City. Well, we're proving we can beat City. What an FA Cup final that would be, United against City. That would be a big one. What would be the bigger match, regardless of what they go on to achieve, whether City win the league or Arsenal win the league? FA Cup final against Man City or Europa League final against Arsenal?
Europa League Cup final against Arsenal for sure. I don't know. Maybe it's because I think I'm a bit younger. It's like I feel like I have more hatred for Arsenal than I do with City for a weird reason.
No. I think even the older fans in regards to City, they're just one of those clubs that, as great as unfortunately as they are kind of irrelevant. They don't sort of stir that emotion. Now, obviously in Manchester they do, but even for them, it's almost just that annoying little sort of kid. They don't really bother you too much. You sort of wish they went away a little bit. But ultimately, Arsenal is that deep-rooted sort of hatred, dislike, etc. And there is a rivalry. And ultimately, it's sort of maybe coming back to what it was one day. So that will be interesting. And look, I'd hate those two finals. As good as they sound, I'd absolutely hate them. I would not enjoy them at all. I didn't even enjoy the Newcastle final. I have to still go back and watch the proper 90 minutes of that because I just sort of get so emotional throughout those matches. You don't really sort of watch what actually is sort of happening. But one or two more before we do wrap up. It has been a good chat. Dion, to me, securing third would be more straightforward than a bunch of two-legged European ties. Yeah, there's a very real possibility where, drop the Europa League and really focus one game a week on the Premier League, and that might prove more beneficial. But ultimately, my counter-argument to that would be, well, third doesn't get you a trophy. In 2030, when I'm looking back at Erik ten Hag's reign, I'm not looking at that season where he finished third. I'm looking at that season where he won 2 trophies. So ultimately, that's where I lean on the side of potentially Europa League. Box saying Europa League final, Man United. Yeah, I forgot Paul Pogba and Di Maria. That's obviously a real possibility. Juventus obviously did quite well in their last, though. Not sure who they have in this tie. But Ed, stopping Arsenal winning their first European trophy would bring me so much joy. That's where it's crazy. Manchester City against United in the FA Cup should be the bigger game. There's something about Arsenal, and I just think it would take a little bit of shine off. If they were to win the league, they'll be on the piss for a couple of weeks before that Europa League final. And I just think it would catch them on a little bit of a downer. Sort of coming down from that, I think we could take a little bit of shine off their Premier League trophy. So I do lean towards potentially a dream final against Arsenal. Hopefully we win it. But I do see a situation where that happens, and it would be sweet. Okay, it's not the Premier League, but it would be sweet taking a little bit of shine. And obviously stopping them win that Europa League. Obviously Chelsea smacked them a few years ago. Barcelona obviously beat them. Barcelona beat them in the Champions League in, would have been 06, 07, 05, 06, or 07, around that, one of the 2006 years, whatever year that overlapped. Yeah, that is a discussion for another day. Fingers crossed United have turned a corner. Well, we have turned a corner, but obviously turned the corner from what happened at Anfield, 7-0, as I said, a couple of days ago. But I'd say the pain is easing a little bit, and I don't know if it's sort of the pain easing or we're just sort of looking forward to the next match. I think it's maybe more so that if it was an international break, I think it would still be very fresh. But that international break is in a few weeks. I'm not sure.
2 weeks, I think.
2 weeks. Well, if you are in Sydney in 2 weeks, that international break, obviously nothing guaranteed for the podcast. So fingers crossed we can sort of strike gold and get a little bit of luck. But Rio Ferdinand is coming to Sydney. And we do have potentially one or two things potentially with him with the Man United Supporters Club. Nothing confirmed, but trying our best to tee something up. He obviously is playing a bit of a charity game. If you want the details, I can let you know where that is. It's on Saturday, the 25th of March. If you are in Sydney, so you'll be able to get down. I'm sure you'll be able to get a photo or autograph or something of Rio Ferdinand. So, a little bit of sort of excitement for Man United fans in Sydney during the international break. But stay tuned. I'll bring you more details to that over the coming days. But Adam, been an absolute pleasure filling in for Larry. Larry and I should be back. Well, I'll definitely be back on Friday morning post-match against Real Betis. So make sure you subscribe. Fingers crossed Larry is here to join us. If not, if you do want to jump on the pod and have a chat with us, feel free. Get in touch. I'll send you the link. Always happy to have new faces, but always good to see Adam. Always a pleasure, mate. Always.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on.
And again, hopefully everyone did enjoy that. Please do leave a like on the video. It'll cheer us up after a very tough couple of days. Hit that subscribe button so you do join us post-match against Real Betis. And come on, United. Big couple of days. Until then, have a good one. Box. Oh, sorry. Great show, lads. Do appreciate that, Box. Did see what that said. Until then, have a good one. We'll chat to you soon. Cheers.